Good morning, Year 4, and here is your maths lesson for Tuesday, the 2nd of March. You've been doing brilliantly with your multiplication work so far, and I've loved seeing the work that you've been sending in, and I know Mrs. Cross and Mrs. Plews have been really impressed as well. Today, we are going to carry on with our multiplication for lesson 4, but today we're going to be multiplying 1 and 2 digit numbers by 100. Okay, let's see what this looks like then. So this multiplication chart we used at the beginning of this unit, and we were working out how to use it to answer these questions. So we've got 6 times 10, 10 times 7, and 9 times 10. How can we work out these using the chart? Hopefully you're going to tell me that we go to the 6 and go down to the 10th row for 60, or we go from 6 to the side along 10 for 60 here. For our answer is 60. Hopefully you might just know that in your head anyway, the same with the other questions, but let's just use the grid anyway. Starting on 7, going down to 10, or 7 at the side and going along to 10 for 70. And exactly the same for our 9 times. So 9 from the top, along down to the row of 10, or 9 at the side, along to the row of 10 there for 90. Okay, really straightforward starting off with those this morning. However, what if we then look at questions like these? So 6 times 100, 100 times 7, or 9 times 100. How are these numbers different? And how could we use the grid to work these out? Hopefully you're telling me that they're 10 times bigger. So we had 6 times 10, which is our yellow dot down here, which I've left one of them in. 6 times 10, we now need to do 6 times 100. So we need to multiply that answer again by 10. So if the answer was 60, we're now going to make it look like 600 by multiplying it across by 10. Now, I'm not going to go through the other examples here because we're going to look at it in a different way again, just like we did on that first lesson, lesson number 1, where we use these counters. So we've got 6 times 10. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of tens counters. So 6 lots of 10. Or 6 then 100s. What's Miss Fowler done wrong here? Has she used the right counters? No, she hasn't. I was hoping to to trick you out on that one, because while I have 6 lots here and 6 lots of 10, I actually only needed 6 lots of 10, not 60 10 lots. So 6 lots of 10 here, showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots of a group of 10, and this time it's 6 lots of a group of 100. So the calculation is just those 10 times bigger. Okay, trying not to confuse you anymore then, let's have a look. So we had 6 times 10 is 60, so we write our 60 in our place value grid, and when you multiply a number by 10, it gets 10 times larger, so it moves 1 to the left. So the 6 has gone into the hundreds, the 0 from the 1s has gone into the 10s, and then we add that 0 into the 1s column as a placeholder. Simple enough, and hopefully you'll remember that step. However, let's have a look at a slightly different question. So this question is asking what 23 times 100 is. So this time it's 100 times larger. And when you multiply a number by 100, it gets 100 times larger. And so the digits this time go 2 columns to the left. So for this question, 23 times 100, we move 2 from the tens column into the thousands column, 2 to the left. The 3 in the ones goes to 3 in the hundreds, and then you need to add 2 zeros to the ones and tens columns as placeholders. Okay, let's see what this looks like when we have to work it out then. Oh no, one more example to show you. 82 times 100 then. So 82 first of all in the tens and ones columns, and then you've got the 2 arrows across for 8 in the thousands and 2 in the hundreds, and then again those 2 zeros for the placeholders in the ones and the tens column. So we can see that 82 times 100 is 8,200 because it is 10 times larger, and I've added our comma in so we can read the word easier. Okay, now let's have a go at 1 by ourselves. So using this same method, how could we work out 72 times 100? So first work out what 72 times 1 is, or use the number 72. Quite simple. So 7 in the tens and 2 in the ones. And when you multiply a number by 100, it gets 100 times bigger. So the digits move 2 columns to the left. So my 7 is going to go into my thousands. My 2 is going to go into my hundreds. And then I add those 2 space saver zeros. And I can pop my comma in to help. So 72 times 100 is 7,200. And if we're looking at those numbers, there are 2 zeros on my 100 and now 2 zeros in my answer. Okay, let's have a look at another one. 100 times 40. So we could first work out 40 times 1, or to use that 40. And it would be times by 1 because this number is 1. And then I need to multiply it by 100 to get 100 times bigger. My 4 is going to go into my thousands column. My 0 is going to go into my hundreds column. And then I add my 2 space saver zeros on, pop my comma in, and my answer is 4,000. Again, this time we have our answer, our number is 40, and it's got 2 zeros for our 2 zeros here because this number here was already a 0. So that one didn't count. Okay, how about 100 times 8 then? So we start off with our 8 in the ones column because it's 1 times 8, and then it needs to go 2 columns to the left. So I can almost draw my arrow here. The 8 would go into the hundreds column because it's gone 2 to the left, and then add in your 2 space saver zeros. So the answer is 800. Hopefully really simple, quite straightforward this morning. Let's have a go at you doing that then, please. So can you use them using your place value knowledge? You don't need to draw the grids out if you don't want to. You can start with and then moving them across. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, have a go at those. Off you go. Okay, I should have just reminded you before you went that when you multiply a number, so down there you've got Colin, when you multiply a number by 100, it gets 100 times bigger, so it goes 2 to the left. I'm sure you've remembered that anyway from our examples. Okay, so I've got 3 times 100. So 3 times 1 is 3, and then when I multiply 100, it goes 2 spaces to the left. So I'm using my squares to show this. So my answer will be 300. Oh, that's a very funny 3 there. So if you got the answer 300, please give yourself a tick. Then we've got 15 times 100. So I'm going to start off with my 15, and I'm using my imaginary tens and ones column, and then they need to go 2 spaces to the left. So my 1 has gone 1, 2 spaces, and my 5 will as well. And then I add my 2 space saver zeros in to get the answer 1,500. And you can see I've added the comma in here to help me read it. So if you got 1,500, give yourself a tick. Next one, we've got 100 times 84. So I start off with my 84, and I'm multiplying it by 100, so it's going 2 places to the left. So my 8 is going to go into my thousands column, my 4 is going to go into my hundreds column, and I need to add 2 space saver zeros. So the answer is 8,400. And if you got that answer, please give yourself a tick. Okay, finally then we've got the number 60. We're going to pop it here. And we need to multiply by 100, so that's 2 spaces to the left. So my 6 is going to go into my thousands column. My 0 is going to go into my hundreds column, and then we add those 2 space saver zeros to give us the answer 6,000. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This seems quite simple, quite straightforward, and a lot easier than yesterday's, but we need to do this step before we then make it a little bit more complicated in the next couple of lessons for when we multiply larger numbers using that formal method. So this is all we need to do for today, and fingers crossed that you found that quite simple and you did well. Okay, Emmett thinks that 50 times 100 is 50,000. Explain why he is incorrect. Okay, I'd normally ask you to pause and have a go, but hopefully you know what he's done wrong already. We know from Colin's helpful statements and things earlier that when we multiply by 100, we move 2 spaces to the left. So if I had my 50 up here, 2 spaces to the left, my 5 would be in my thousands, my 0 would be in my hundreds, and I add 2 space saver zeros on. What Emmett has done is he's obviously moved it 3 spaces because he's then added his 3 zeros onto the end. So the answer should be 5,000. Again, really quite straightforward this morning. So I'm going to go straight into your turn. You've got 5 do it questions today, very similar to the ones that we've just done. If you can write the original number and then show that you're moving it in that place value and not just adding zeros, that would be brilliant. You've then got your go deep Colin problem. And finally, your go deeper, which is an always, sometimes, never again. This time it asks the product or the multiplication of a 2-digit number and 100 will have 2 zeros. Will it always, sometimes, or never only just have 2 zeros? And again, you can think about some numbers yourself to prove that is always or never or sometimes true. Good luck with those, and just remember to come back at the end for the learning pit. Off you go. Okay, huge well done. Hopefully you found that quite simple again this morning. And hopefully, if you did find it really simple, that you can say where you are on the learning pit. Maybe you found that quite simple, all of your number sense knowledge coming through, multiplying by 100, fairly straightforward. I look forward to seeing that if you send that in today. And I promise you that we're going to use this recapped knowledge tomorrow when we do some different multiplication. But a huge well done for now, and I will see you soon. Bye.